now getting into data. And I think that this is where people had more of an issue. It wasn't so much that they couldn't use the software, that they didn't fear the software, that they couldn't hire a consultant to run the reports for them. That wasn't the issue. It was more in getting data and kind of working with data. And what I've done over the time, and this is mostly with products like Oracle, SAP, PeopleSoft, JDE, the kind of larger ERP systems. In working to automate that data import and normalization, I mean, every system that I've put in is something where a person just pushes a button and they're able, it might take an hour or two for very large data files, but in an hour or two, it'll give you exactly the data that you need, completely put together for your purposes. And I find that that automation gets the 80% of the process taken out of the equation. So now you're able to spend 80% on analytics as opposed to on just getting the data. And it allows you to kind of get beyond the ERP system, and just kind of get into all different types of data: Word documents, Excel documents, PDF documents, text files. And this might be something where, even just taking a look at, let's say, customer complaints per a web form could give great insight into your revenue cycle. But how many auditors are doing that, or actually looking at customer complaints when thinking about the risk assessment from a revenue perspective? They should be, I feel, but this is kind of a new domain for a lot of people. I think getting to more of a server concept helps greatly as well. I find that many companies have kind of not moved to the server so much, but I feel if you can get to the server as opposed to running this on your desktop, you're able to kind of centralize all of the data. You can actually set up security in a much more controlled fashion. And so kind of moving forward, I know I've said this a few times here, but if normalizing data is 80% of the time in the beginning, the focus is to try to get past that and try to get it where it's 80% mostly for analytics. Data isn't in every process, and I've done some studies on this, and we'll try to show an example a little later here of some big data type testing. But for the most part, 90% of data is text, even the ERP data that you're working with. I also found that internal audit is one of the best partners to get data at the company. I mean, they have independence, they have an ability to kind of build data warehouses and to do so in a secure way because they're going to be thoughtful and mindful of it and make sure that they build things with security in mind. And in many cases, their data warehouse is going to be larger than most other, anybody, even IT. They may have more data at the end of the day than some of the IT analytic functions that have been built. So, from an automated data normalization point of view, you want to kind of store those procedures so that you're cleaning things up once. You want to kind of set up a normalized set of data fields, and you might even want to name the data fields in a nomenclature that you understand, as opposed to it being like an SAP field like document type BUKRS or something that no one understands what that means. You might want to call it, document type, for example. You also can kind of build in a lot of the quality tests, and you can actually have it email you and say, the quality tests ran on the data that was imported, and everything matches between the general ledger and the trial balance, and hence you can start auditing. You don't have to think about it anymore. I like to take all those data quality tests and make sure that they've been automated. So in essence, you're automating the routine tasks so that you have more time from an analyst point of view. And from a data analytic point of view, just what are the data types out there? In looking at the three different types here, there's structured data, there's unstructured data, and then there's external data. Structured data is what we're used to. It's the ERP packages, it's the subledgers, maybe the monthly performance KPIs. The unstructured data is Word documents, Excel documents, emails, network logs. I mean, from a security point of view, the network log can be, a really useful area to take a look at. And external data, taking a look at things like your geomapping type facilities, sam.gov, which kind of tracks business partners that might be be a concern as well. And IRS has some really, the IRS department has some really interesting data points as well that you might be able to take a part of. But one of which is the tax ID matching service. But another one is they have an average income per zip code, and you might be able to utilize that in kind of looking at payroll testing, or maybe even taking a look at some of your customer and vendor type testing. And just noting, from a structured point of view, we'll talk about some of big data. I find that big data, just kind of taking that concept of all the different types of data, I think most big data is within your company. You don't have to go outside the company to get big data. Just taking a look at SAP or PeopleSoft or Oracle is enough. Just in there, if you really utilized all the data that's in there. Back in 2007, I wrote a book with a couple of other authors on the buyer's guide to audit software. And we had this daisy wheel of all the different types of data files that you could get your hands on. And, as you look at it, most of it is text. It's things like a best practice database and a GRC type database. And all of this is just text type information that you can analyze. And I'm just going to skip over that slide here. So one of the things that I think about from a data mining point of view in kind of what we're doing is I think just trying to understand your data better can be just a great way of getting started with analytics. Yeah, as I said before, if you have data, an actual numeric data file, things such as a payroll file, just taking a look at all of the stratifications of values and volumes by department and understanding, where are people working and what are some of the rates that are being charged, doing what's known as a Benford's Law. If you don't know Benford's Law, take a look it up on Wikipedia. We have training, Jim and I, around statistical patterns like Benford's Law if you want to learn more, but it helps you to better understand your numbers. From a textual analytic point of view, there are things like the keyword analysis that we talked about, and a keyword would be looking for a word like facilitation, and even looking for words like the word bribe. As crazy as that sounds, you might actually find it, in your data files. I've started to kind of get involved with something called letter analytics that I'll talk about in the next few slides here, but I think starting to think more about how you can summarize the words that are being used, be it in, let's say, a customer complaint form, in a case management document. If you're, part of a governmental institution and you're kind of tracking from a case management point of view what's happening, or even in your GRC system, just to kind of track that information, and then summarize that by words and see what words people are using and using more and more each day can be very useful. There are other products out there like rule calculator tools that this gets into more advanced analytics, but they basically predict things. They use more regression analysis. Products like WizRule and WizY are more along those lines of kind of calculating rules. But what I find is that if you can just get started doing more of a scan of your data as you get started, that can help you to better understand what are the types of reports that you might want to run. So I don't have a whole lot of time to explain this. So we have some links here that you can, learn more about my Lanza approach to letter analytics, or what I call LALA, and it's basically using the first few letters of data to better understand the data file or text file that you're working with. And it allows you to more quickly understand your data file. So what you're looking at here are journal entries, and looking at the words in journal entries from one year to a next, and just from A to Z, how are those words changing over time. And it allows you in one graph. I believe in this particular case, I'm looking at 11 million words. But you're able to kind of look at those words and see how they trend over time in one graph. And it's like a fingerprint, basically, that you're looking at. So you can read more about it there. But I wanted to show you a practical example. And I'm going back. I said before I was going to bring up this Protivity report again. I think they do a great job. The internal auditing needs of the internal auditor Protivity reports from 2006 to 12. And then I looked at 2013 to 15. And I know it's very small. It's a little purposeful why I'm making it small here, but you'll notice here that in looking at the changes over time between 2006 and 12, which are in blue, and then the 2013 to 15, which are in orange, you'll notice that there are very few that deviate. From a time point of view, there are few like in the letter Z and the letter X that you have a great deviation because those letters aren't used very much. But in other areas, you almost find no deviation at all. And this is letter analytics. This is me kind of finding a way of making sense of hundreds of thousands of words within one graphic, which is what we're looking at here. Now, in a more detailed way, now that we kind of did the letter analytic, I just wanted to kind of note and kind of talking about how this relates to our seminar. This is the needs of the internal auditor, and I pulled out keywords that related to technology. So I'm looking at keywords such as knowledge, analysis, automated, CATS, cloud, computing, continuous, etc. And what you'll find here is, the word cloud is increasing. The orange is a lot bigger than the word in blue. CATs, computer-assisted audit techniques, are is becoming a little bit more used, not as much more, but a little bit more used. Cybersecurity was never talked about from 2006 to 2012. It was never a word that even appeared in their study, but now in 2013 to 15 is a huge percentage. The actual word data is being used a lot more, right? Knowledge is being used a lot less, which is kind of interesting. Information is being used a lot less, so there's more data, but less, we're learning from it. And the word technology is kind of coming down as well. But another word that I found interesting that was dropping was the word continuous. That, again, like I said many years ago, there was a lot more talk about continuous auditing and moving down that road. But as you can see from the studies, there's not a whole lot of people doing it. And it's something where it's kind of dropping out of the nomenclature, even per the needs assessment that's out there. Now, just kind of going back here to the letter analytic, the way I got from here, I kind of picked out, and I use almost like a Benford law approach, if anyone understands Benford's law with digit patterns of taking the first few digits of numbers. I'm taking the first few letters in this case, and I'm trying to understand what are the deviations between those letters over time. And that kind of drove me to see some of the changes that led to these keywords that are being changed here in this particular graphic of the bar chart. So anyway, we'll, I guess, just close out here with our last polling question, and then we have some final notes as well. But let me just kind of get to this polling question here. And what law does the textual analytic approach LALA, the letter analytic, mimic? Is it regression, Zipf's law, Newton, or Benford's law? So just taking a look at some of the questions too, as we'll go through some of these final questions and final slides here. The optimal target audience is critical, to the data analytics results. Basically, do you agree that getting that optimal target audience is key? I do. I mean, I think partnering. Let me just read through this. Sorry. I find that basically partnering with teams is key, and finding those partners that are more friendly to work with to improve their efficiency from an auditor point of view and audit time point of view is key. And then generally they'll end up paying for it, which is really great, because they'll realize that they like the technology in house. I think next question, what's the difference between continuous audit and ongoing revisions made by front office and data analytics? I think if you're at that point, where you are running things continuously, I think you've made it. I mean that's something where a lot of people had said, what's the difference between continuous auditing and continuous monitoring? And it's mostly auditing is by the external or internal audit team, and monitoring is just what's kind of being done by the business process owner. But I mean, I think at that point, I think in both cases, there's not a whole lot of difference there. I think you're doing, more of a continual review, which is key. So I'll leave this polling question out here for just another few seconds, and then we'll close this out. Okay, let me share that with everybody. And the answer to the question, what law does textual analytic approach mimic, is Benford's law. It's kind of using those first few digits, and it's an approach that I'll say I've discovered. It's something that really hasn't been out there until now, and is something that I'm writing more and more about. So you can read some of the articles on AuditNet and on the International Institute for Analytics. So just as we close out here, just wanted to note a few things here. We basically audit technology training. If you want to take a look, we have a survey that Jim has pulled together on the effectiveness of audit technology training. Take a look at that survey. Our next free webinar is in June, similar to this one, on moving periodic analytics to continuous audit tests. And in a couple of slides, we'll talk about the training program that we have together. But before that, I wanted to note as well, I have this business process diagnostic reporting service. I'm not going to go through this slide. We've kind of talked about its value, but it's something where you may want to consider that. Feel free to go out to the link, and if you fill out the link, I'm happy to talk more about what we do and how that works. But it's usually just within a few hours we can give you a lot of results, and I think that's kind of what I'm proud to be able to say to people, versus having people go through a lengthy process of trying to do it themselves the first time. It kind of eliminates a lot of that. From a training point of view, we have through AuditNet, I provide this year 11 training courses. We offer some of them twice in the year, but we do urge you to take a look. We have our semester one that is kicking off. Well, I guess today, but it technically would be February 24th with our visualization class, and you can learn more at AuditNet. But we really tried to make it where the subscription value for the individual subscriber and then the group subscription, because my point is we want to train the whole team. That's our key here. We make it simple that everybody can watch it, but I think I've talked to some real experienced analytic auditors, and everybody gets something from our training, so I'm happy to hear that. We also give out data files as part of that, so you can practice with videos that you can get afterwards with the data files. Here's our list of courses. I'm not going to go through them one by one, but just to kind of note, we try to pick out some of the best topics that we've had over the last couple of years, and some of the more trending topics like big data and et cetera that you may want to take a look at. Talking about some free things that are out there. There is the auditsoftwarevideos.com. As I mentioned, that's where you can learn more about the report service. But also there's about 70 hours of videos that you can access for free and start learning from an analytic point of view. You just have to sign up. So take a look at that. And last but not least, AuditNet has their subscription to all of the various library of audit programs. And if you aren't a subscriber, this is just down at the bottom here. If you're not a subscriber, if you send an email to info@auditnet.org with must-have, you can get $25 off the premium individual subscription. So that's really just offered to new subscribers and something to consider and part of our webinar today. But just kind of taking a look at some of the last questions here. From one last question, what is the best process to start to initiate big data analytics? I would say take a look at what emails, Word documents that you could get your hands on in a process of risk. But if that is something you can't do from a privacy point of view, if you can't kind of get into emails and Word documents, I would say the IT function, taking a look at network logs, can be a great way of kind of looking more at some of the big data, looking at when people are kind of accessing the system, what programs are they accessing. It gives you this ability to kind of learn quickly kind of what's going on in your organization. So we do thank you for today. I know I'm trying to kind of stay on target here from a timing point of view, and believe I'm a little bit over by a minute or so from the our 1 o'clock Eastern time. But if you do have any additional questions, you're more than welcome to email me, and I have my email there. We have a website, phone numbers, etc., to give a call to, and really do appreciate everybody coming out here today. We had a great showing, and thanks again, Jim, for doing all the great promotion of it.
Oh, thank you, Rich. This has been terrific, and I'm sure that everybody got something of value from this webinar. It really has been great. One of the things that I would just add in terms of that last question that came in terms of the best process to start or the best way to start, I don't know if you mentioned this before, Rich, but I would start trying to hit a single rather than a home run. Go for a small project, because if you try to overdo it and hit something really big, you may not like the results, and they may not be a good selling point. So basically, start small. Uh, and I know that there's a question as to when the video will be posted. We'll get that up as soon as we can. Hopefully, we'll get it up by the end of the day today, and we'll get you out the link so that you can review all this great information. And we look forward to you coming back to visit us in the future. Thanks a lot, Rich. Great session, and a reminder to fill out the evaluation survey after the webinar is over. So everybody have a great day, and we look forward to seeing you back again in the future. Bye.